You're listening to Men of Abundance, episode 200, and today it's all me, telling you what I've learned on this journey of abundance.
Welcome to Men of Abundance, the podcast for those looking to level up their lives by hanging out with some of the greatest leaders and established professionals in our community, living a life of integrity, honor, and the abundance mentality. Prepare to pay it forward with your host, former Army medic turned lifestyle entrepreneur, Wally Carmichael.
What's up, all of you amazing, abundant leaders out there? I am Wally Carmichael, your founder and host of the Men of Abundance podcast, the Pay It Forward community. Man, I am just stoked that I made it to 200 episodes. Very few podcasts make it past 50, from what I understand. Very few even make it to 20, because once most podcasters or want to be podcasters start this process, they realize, damn, there's actually some work involved in this. It's not like, just doing a blog. Blogs are great. It takes a lot of research to do any of this stuff. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of editing. It takes a lot of scheduling to get the times right to communicate, especially with a podcast like mine that I interview people because I got to get on their calendar. They got to get on mine, and thank goodness for my calendar, my Acuity scheduling calendar that I use. It is a lifesaver. I would not have been able to get this far for sure without the use of Acuity scheduling. And there are many other schedulers out there. That's just the one that I started using, and I truly, truly love it. But today, I'm just going to be sharing with you. I'm just talking right off the cuff here. Got a few things I want to say, scripted out a little bit, but I never do really script many things out on the show anyway. So today I'm really just going to share with you some of my thoughts about what I've learned over it's been almost 2 years and 200 episodes. And most of those episodes are interview episodes where I've had conversations with other abundant leaders in the community and around the world. And, really, I could just make this whole episode super, super short and tell you that this whole abundant journey, and in my mind, this living a life of abundance from my personal experience, which is why I started this whole process, to all of the conversations validating my thoughts on living a life of abundance, through all the conversations that I've had with all of the men and women that you've heard, if you have actually been able to listen to every single episode. And there are so many similarities amongst all of the men and women that are living an amazing life of abundance and somehow paying it forward to the community and the world. One of those is family. It's all about family. It's about family, their personal family, and in many cases, their family, which is the people within their business, the people that they work with. They consider them family. They treat people like people. But regardless of what they do in life, whether they're business owners or their employees, their authors, their fellow podcasters, bloggers, whatever the case may be, all of them realize the abundance that's in the world. They realize that everything they do in life can add to somebody else's life. It does not have to take from somebody else's life in order for them to take care of their own family and to tend to their own needs and to get more clients in their own business. Rather, it's their personal business or the business that they work for. And many of them have extremely strong work ethics. But ultimately, they realize that the abundance that they have in their life at the moment is why they do what they do. Now, here's the thing. As you know, I ask everybody that kick in the gut moment. And many of them have revealed through the kick in the gut moment or otherwise through their story that they didn't always think that way. They didn't always have that thought process. Just like when I started 4 years ago, when I realized that I'm living this life of abundance, again, I say it all the time, thanks to my amazing wife, Tracy, because she's the one that was always saying, Wally, what the heck are you chasing? And what I was chasing was that 6 and 7 figure income. I figured if I had this money, everything would be great. And I got the money. I got the 6-figure income, was living on the beach and living an amazing life, watching my son play in the water while I was listening to a podcast, actually. And my wife was in the house. doing, reading her books, doing what she was doing. And I just realized I have an amazing life. I'm living this life of abundance. Everything I need is right here, and I need to put time to that. So I took the headphones out, set them on the table on the gazebo, went out and played in the water with my little guy because he was there saying, "Dad, come and play, come and play." And I was like, "Wait, one more minute. Let me just get through this podcast." You know what? Screw that stuff. Yeah, we have to improve ourselves, of course. And we have to improve our skills so that we can become more valuable in the marketplace. But ultimately, when it comes down to it, everything we do, I do for my family. And I said that for years. I said, baby, everything I'm doing for the family. But my words were saying that, but my actions were not saying that. My actions were saying exactly the opposite. And many of the guests, they say the same exact thing. They say that they were in the same situation. So as you may or may not know, and I'm going to continue on how I got this podcast started and started this abundance journey, just to give those of you who don't really know the kind of Cliff Notes version of how all this really kind of got started, is once I made that realization that I was living a life of abundance and I had so much, and I started actually being grateful for what I had, and I physically every morning started writing in a journal what I was grateful for. And if I didn't write in the journal, I at least verbalized it or thought it in my head what I was grateful for that day. And I would periodically throughout the day say, I'm grateful for this and I'm grateful for that, and give thanks to that event, and, hug my wife, hug my kids, and all that stuff. And once I made that realization, had this mindset of abundance, was grateful for what I currently had in my life, so much more started coming into my life. And it was about that time that I got introduced to Patrick Snow. And it was really weird because I was just randomly asked by a friend of mine to go to this little meeting with him. He didn't even know what it was, I don't think. And we go to this meeting, and it's Patrick talking about how it's, how to write a book and how important it is to write a book, and you should write your story. And it really got me thinking about, okay, if I was going to write a book, what would I write about? And I came up with the idea while we were brainstorming there, because we went through this whole process, and I came up with the title, Living Your Life of Abundance. And I started this process of writing this book. And as the book was being written, it was all coming out of my head, I realized it was all my story. It was all a biography, and I didn't want it to be an autobiography. I wanted more stories. I just really wanted verification that what I was thinking is actually true. And then I had the idea through another process that I'll spare you right now, is I decided that I wanted to have conversations with other guys and to get other stories of living a life of abundance, people living this amazing life of abundance and paying it forward. And then I thought about the kick in the gut moment and stuff, but how would I get these guys to talk to me? And I just figured at the time, since I was listening to so many podcasts, John Lee Dumas on his podcast said, you can start your own podcast. And that's how I decided I was going to start, why I was going to start the podcast, to create an audience, to give these guys a reason to want to talk to me. And I've had the pleasure of talking to some truly amazing men and women. And they all individually have greatly enhanced my life, as I hope they have yours. So then about 6 months into this process of broadcasting this show, of posting this show on iTunes, Stitcher, posting it on Google, Facebook, Twitter, all over the place, people started to get to know who I was. They started to learn more about the show. People started contacting me to get on the show. But something super amazing that I had no idea was going to happen happened. People started contacting me about coaching them in living a life of abundance. Even one spouse contacted me and said, I've been listening to your show. I love the message that you're sharing. My husband needs some help. Would you consider coaching him in living a life of abundance, where we have money, he's just not connected with the family, and that's really what I want. And I respectfully told each of them that I truly appreciate that. I just don't know how I would go about coaching this living a life of abundance. It's not something I've ever done before. So I got to coach myself. I got a couple coaches. I got into a couple mastermind groups. I started learning about the process of coaching people and living a life of abundance. So then as I started doing that, and I started learning more about the type of people that would want this type of coaching, I started thinking, at some point I really need to monetize this whole thing, because even today, 2 years later, I have made zero money from the podcast. There's no sponsors like other podcasts have. I have no affiliates like other podcasts have. There's no revenue coming in from the podcast whatsoever, but it's costing me money. This thing is costing me money. So I thought, well, at some point I have to monetize this thing somehow. So I started talking to these guys and seeing, I worked with a couple guys. And I started saying, well, what would you pay for a service like this? And some would pay for it and some would not. And even those that would pay for it, I had a concern with it personally because I was like, well, how am I going to monetize this but ensure that they're getting the value out of it that I'm willing to do for my time, that I'm willing to give up for my time? How much is my time worth? And how much is the value that I'm giving these guys truly? How can I quantify that? And that was my problem. I couldn't quantify it. But one thing stood true that one other coach pointed out to me as I was talking to this coach about the situation. And he said, look, what are the vocations of the guys that are coming to you that want your help? And we worked through it, and it basically came down to this. 90% of the men who were coming to me asking for assistance in living a life of abundance, they were entrepreneurs. They were business owners. And as I dug into their business and I dug into what they were doing, some of them were doing pretty well financially, and some of them just looked like they were doing well, but in truth, they were struggling. So they were struggling in their business, and therefore what they felt was they had to work harder. They had to put more time into their business and put more effort into their business. They had to improve themselves, so they had to go to this seminar and that seminar, and they had to go buy this course and buy that course, and to make themselves more valuable and to increase their business and to get more clients. And by putting more time and all that more time and effort into their business, yes, you know what's coming. They were putting less time into what was truly important, which is their family. And they were dropping the ball. I don't know if you've ever heard the analogy. You may have heard me say it before, and it's in The One Thing, the book The One Thing, written by Gary Keller and Jay Papasan, is when you're juggling the balls of life, you have your work, you have your health, you have your relationships, and your health and your relationships are made out of glass balls. Your work and your income, however your income is, that's a rubber ball. And you can drop the rubber ball a couple times, and it'll bounce back. You can always get more money, and you can always figure out a way to earn more income. But when you drop the health ball and the relationship ball, those glass balls, they shatter. They at least crack. And each time they crack, they become more and more brittle. And that one time you drop it, it's going to shatter, and it's done. You're never getting that relationship back, and you're never getting their health back. So that's what these guys are doing. They were juggling the balls, and they were dropping the wrong balls. So I tried to figure out, okay, then how can I help these guys? Because obviously, really, I can help them with the relationship, and I know how to do that now, and I can get that done, and I have a program to help them with that. But if they don't get their business right too, they're still always going to have that on their mind. They're not going to get that right away until they, at the very least, get the business to where it's a positive cash flow, because that is their income. Now, many of them have moved on. They've let the business go. They've gone back to work, and some of them is the work issue, but most of these guys are entrepreneurs. So I looked into their business. I started realizing the skills that I have and some of the coaches that I was working with, and what they've coached me on is an extremely intensive marketing and business strategy campaign that is simply amazing. What I can do with businesses with this information. So I decided to combine the two. And that's where we're at today. I have combined my skills with marketing and the ability to find any business model, any business about $10,000 or more within about 45 minutes in their business. And that's without adding any further marketing to their business. And I've taken the abundance mindset and combined that in with the program with the guys that I work with. And I'm going to be rolling this out as soon as my book gets done. I'm going to be rolling this out and offering this as a service. And I'm super excited to be able to work with guys in getting their business straight by properly marketing it and properly setting up the business and strategizing it for long term. See, the thing is, these business owners, these entrepreneurs, and just like any other business out there, they're amazing at what they do. I'm talking about chiropractors, dentists, I'm talking about plumbers, just about any time, guys, construction workers, cabinet builders, you name it. They're amazing at their craft. They really, really know chiropractors, how to do their job. They're excellent at it. But what they suck at is marketing and business, and rightfully so. They shouldn't be focusing on marketing and business, but that's what most business owners get into their business. Let's say, for instance, a chiropractor and wants to be a chiropractor, but unless he's got a business consultant, he's got a business strategist on his team, 80% of what he has to do to keep the business running is marketing and business strategies. He shouldn't be doing that. He or she should be a chiropractor. He or she should be building cabinets. All right, and doing the skill that they're passionate about and doing that they're really good at. That's where somebody like myself comes in, and that's where I have a team of coaches on my side that's helping me, and we all help each other with all these different industries. So really, what I would like to ask of any of you out there right now that are entrepreneurs or no entrepreneurs that are in that situation that I just described, I need your help. I'm writing a book that specifically details my ability to find a minimum of $10,000 in, I believe, any industry out there without spending any more money on advertising. And this is a service that I plan on offering shortly after my book is published. But one, I want to test this with other industries that I have not already tested this against. And my publisher just reviewed the latest chapter of the book, and he told me that he would like to have several additional case studies for the final version of the book. So what I would like to ask is if you would consider letting me perform this service for you and just use your results as a future case study in my book or in the Six Figure Coach magazine that I'm also a contributor to. I would do so either under your business name or anonymously. It's totally up to you. And here's the thing, I won't charge you a thing for this service. And all I ask in return is your written permission to use the results in my book or in the article. And if I impressed you, maybe just a brief testimonial I can use as well. Now, if this doesn't apply to you directly and you feel you can't use this service, chances are you know somebody who can. And I can greatly improve somebody's life by improving their business and help them develop the abundance mindset so that they can truly live the life of abundance they know they deserve. I can also work with other guys, but here's the thing. I have to monetize my time somehow. And I don't always do that. I do a lot of times I'm talking with guys and I'm not getting paid for it. And that's cool. And I absolutely love helping guys in that way. But here's the thing, guys. We all have to make a living some way. I have to monetize this podcast. And I feel that this is the best way for me to do this. So if you're willing to help me out with this project, or you know somebody who's in a position and they're willing to help me out with this project, send me an email to info@apmasterycoach.com. apmasterycoach.com, and in the subject line put 10K project, and then in the body of your email put what industry your business is in, and share with me some of the common challenges that your industry has in getting clients and increasing revenue. Now, I'm not necessarily going to be evaluating your specific business. I'm not evaluating anything. I'm going to present to you what I can do for businesses in generating more leads, turning those leads into prospects, and getting more profits within the business the way it's structured right now. And then I'm going to ask for your honest feedback based on your expertise in that industry and see how this could work in your industry. Then I'm going to use that case study for the book or the article, or maybe both. Of course, I'm going to have this information in the show notes, but again, send the email to info@apmasterycoach.com. And then once I get that email, I'm going to reply back to you with a calendar link so that you and I can link up. We're going to do a screen share. If we're not in the local area, you and I can do a screen share. And I'm going to share with you this presentation. Then we're going to have a quick conversation about it. What is it that you're working on in your life right now that you feel you're struggling with? Realize that if you're listening to this right now, be grateful that one, you can hear, and you can hear my voice and you can hear this. Two, chances are you're in a place and you're in a position to where you're in a lifestyle and you're in a country that allows you to listen to stuff like this. That is a huge blessing that you had no control over whatsoever. That is 100% divine intervention. And there are so many other things to be grateful for in your life. Once you realize that you can be grateful for the things that you have because of how much abundance you currently have in your life, so much more will come into your life. And then what do you do with the rest of that? What do you do with the abundance, with everything else that comes into your life when you have more than what you need? That's when you start paying it forward. Rather it's with your knowledge, it's with your guidance, it's with your mentorship, your coaching. Sometimes it's with your dollars. You can give somebody a hand up. You can help people out. You can go buy somebody a meal. If you're afraid that they're going to spend the money on drugs or whatever, then go buy them a meal. Drop it off with somebody. If you know somebody in need, sit with them. Just sit with them. Call somebody you haven't talked to in a long, long time. Go give your kids and your wife a hug. For no reason. Just give them a hug. Give them a kiss. Say, I love you. It goes so far. Sit down with your kids. Do something that they want to do. They want to go out bike riding? Go bike riding. They want to play a game? Play a game. They want to play a video game? Play the video game. Do something that they want to do. Not something that just because you're together and doing something you want to do is not quality time. Ask your kids. Sometimes you're playing with your kids, you're playing basketball with your kids. They're out there because they want to be with you. Maybe they don't love basketball. Maybe they don't love that activity. They're there because they want to be with you. Ask them what they truly want and what they love to do. Give them a day. Each one of your kids, give each one of them a day. And also give your spouse a day. Give your wife a day. And do something that she wants to do with you. All right? I hope this has been helpful to you. I hope this whole Men of Abundance journey that I've taken you on has been at all helpful to you. I hope you've been abundant in your mindset and paid it forward and shared this with other men and women, because about 40%, last I checked, about 40% of the listeners of the Men of Abundance podcast are women. Well, at least that's the analytics that I have off the website. And I'm getting feedback from the ladies as well. They're digging it as well. And I greatly appreciate that to all of you. I'm truly humbled every single time I get some sort of a message that what I'm doing over here at Men of Abundance, the conversations that I'm sharing, is truly making a difference. It just lifts me up. Yes, I have down days too. And sometimes I don't feel like having a conversation with some of these guys because of what's going on in my life. But every time I get off the phone, I just feel lifted up. And then I feel lifted up when I get a chance to listen to the conversation again. And it really, really lifts me up when I get comments about it. Just this week, for instance, I had a conversation with Sean McCoy. He is the podcast host of an amazing podcast called Come to the Table podcast. Well, during our conversation, he mentioned to me that while he was traveling in Croatia, he was talking to a bunch of small business owners, and he used part of what he had heard me talk about in my podcast in his conversation with these small business owners to help lift them up. That is just amazing that my words were being spoken by Sean McCoy, which is an honor in itself, and being spoken in Croatia to about 50 small business owners. That lifts me up. And if that's what I'm doing here, and if that is having this effect on any of you, then in even one of you, and I know it's happening with Sean and others that have gotten back with me, then I'm doing what I intended to do with Men of Abundance. And guys, I truly want to continue this conversation, and we can do that in the Men of Abundance community on Facebook. Just go to menofabundance.com, click on the Members Only tab, request access if you don't already have access in there. Let's continue these conversations in the community where we can have these conversations that men need to have. Now, go out there and live your life of abundance, and make sure to pay it forward.